This podcast was created on the lands of the Ngunnawal people, the Wurundjeri people, and Ngāti Pawa. We acknowledge the contributions of Aboriginal, Torres Strait Islander, and Maori people to making rugby league the greatest game of all.
You're listening to NRL Hellmouth, the podcast where we open up a portal to the rugby league realm to see what horrors and delights we can unearth. My name is Simon, and hasn't it been a strange week? We saw NRL stars having a dance-off on the Las Vegas Strip, Iran bombing the airport Peter V'landers wanted to use for Global Round next year, and Melbourne paying $250,000 to not sign Zach Lomax. It's a confusing world, all right, and when I need to make sense of something confusing, I turn straight to my LLM, my league-loving mates, James and Daniel. Hi, guys.
Hi, Simon, and beanies and bucket hats, and a big week to you. And to you, James. How are you?
I'm great, and Simon, it's all right. We've got all the answers to solve all the problems.
Yes, we do.
Is that right?
So coming up in the show, we'll be doing a deep dive into player haircuts, examining a club CEO's coffee habit, and launching what I'm pretty sure is the world's first book club exclusively dedicated to rugby league.
Oof.
Let's open it up and raise some hell.
There's the kickoff. Let the party begin.
I've undeservedly apologise to everyone for my actions.
I didn't intend to disrespect anybody, and I definitely didn't do it on the car.
Well, I've been watching the Seagulls, and not one of them is eating.
This is a horror movie. Rugby league. What else can this grand final provide?
To get stacked live on television.
Stop it, it's starting to hurt.
So I almost feel like I need to start this show with another apology after last week's slamming, to use the preferred verb of the mainstream league media, slamming the NRL for picking some distinctly bottom-shelf teams to go to Vegas for the season opener. But boy, was I wrong, because they ended up producing a couple of great games. What did you guys make of the whole melodrama?
I enjoyed the games very much. I would say probably the only downsides for me were too many magicians on social media content. I saw way too many card tricks. I also think that the big loser to come out of it was the Fox Sports momentum tracker and probability trackers, which were, would you believe, powered by AI.
Interesting. How did these work, Dan, for those of us who are not familiar with this, with advanced technologies?
I understand there's sort of similar performance metrics that you've seen in things like your hard-earned and things like that. So, for instance, the momentum tracker is sort of like a line which plots the momentum that a team has. So it sort of creates these lumps of pressure and meters gained and various other sort of performance metrics that all get sort of put into the meat grinder. And that's supposed to give you some indication of where the pressure of the game is. I used to think that was the kind of thing that commentators were hired to do. You might think to yourself that what could be better than a commentator? Let's get a computer to do all of that, to interpret all of that pressure. But I can think of actually one thing better that we saw on the weekend, and that's commentators talking about the statistics and talking about how AI has kind of put things together, trying to kind of interpret that, and then talking about somewhere in the midst of it, a game of rugby league.
Thanks, Dan. I actually never knew that the hard-earned was based on some sort of scientific rubric that they put stats through to come up with the number. I thought it was a dude in the control panel looking at the game and going, he's doing well, give it to Jack Whiten or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's fascinating. And then they've done a similar...
hard-earned Hopkins. They got to get him down to the booth. He's got to be there. He hasn't seen the first 5 minutes. He doesn't know where the hard-earned index should be flopping.
I thought Vegas was all right. I feel bad that we gave it such a hard time last week. I think it was less about the games on the field, which could be played anywhere and be of that quality. Vegas had not much to do with it, and more about the experience of the fans and the players to feel special. And if that is what is required for a human being on the planet to feel special, then far be it from us to criticise that. And, funny little stat, they had, I think, 45,000 people through the gates over 3 games, which is about 15,000 people per game. And they tout that as being wonderful. And in 2023, the opening round average crowd was 18,000. And arguably that 2023 round 1 had more of a focus on the games and marquee Friday night football fixtures and that sort of thing, which we've lost with Vegas. But that is not a criticism from me. That is merely a thought. And I would never criticise the enormity of Vegas and the fact that it got very good television ratings, which you can't take away from it. And we got that great footage of players dancing to Michael Jackson, 16,000 people in a street being happy, and so on and so forth.
So one of our the champion of Australian, Peter V'landys, he's like President Trump.
Now, Peter V'landys, the man who, of course, loves Las Vegas more than Siegfried and Roy put together, is getting, I'd have to say, a little bit weird about the AFL. You might have seen that last week his plane from Sydney to Vegas was turned back mid-flight due to a problem with the air conditioning system. And V'landys said, quote, "Next time we're going to make sure that the plane's not serviced by the AFL engineers. That's what's happened. I think they've spiked the air conditioner."
Whoa!
Really paranoid thinking there. Really
this
sick
is real
stuff.
out of the Trump handbook of just throw whatever you want against the fence and see what sticks.
A couple of days after that, Pete was interviewed on Mick Malloy's breakfast radio show in Melbourne, where the topic of the AFL's recent State of Origin reboot came up. And V'landys said, quote, "Well, firstly, can you explain what AFL is? How can they have a State of Origin? It's all in Victoria, most of the games, aren't they?" Taking a bit of a jab at the other code, which is a bit weird since Aussie Rules has more interstate teams than the NRL and was actually, I believe, doing State of Origin games in 1977, a good 5 years before Rugby League started doing them.
Yeah, that's an interesting swipe, yes.
But it seems like Pete is spending more time thinking about the AFL than the code he's actually supposed to be running. Do you guys think this is healthy?
I think he's spending a lot of time on how to make money, because I read earlier in last week that as long as they're making money, they're making bank in Vegas, which they are, then they'll keep going to that. And when he's thinking about the global round that we spoke about last week, sadly, knows what the world will look like in round 1 2027.
From Middle East to talking about London for next year. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
And basically, I think what he's trying to do is have rugby league subsidised by other countries and cities for the next cycle of global expansion, so that carries no risk for the NRL, and then theoretically provides that aura of international acceptability that, say, rugby has at the expense of AFL.
Yeah, right.
Which is probably the dominant winter sport in Australia, objectively speaking.
Yes, I think that's fair to say. I think it's always going to be that thing of, like, given that is the case and that they are playing second fiddle in the numbers game at least, why not take a few big swings? Why not try to kind of land a few shots? I don't think he's going to win a patient, slow game, and that's clearly not his approach or technique that's got him this far. So I think it is just an entertaining kind of period of watching him at the helm and seeing where he takes the great game.
I think his game, Daniel, is Raza Martaz.
Yes. Well, there was actually quite a telling quote in that interview where he made that terrific jape about the AFL plane engineers that I think might go some way to explaining his obsession with the AFL as well. He was asked about his plans for, expanding internationally, especially into rugby union territories like Japan and Hong Kong. Mm-hmm. And he said, quote, "The key performance indicator for entertainment is how long the ball's in play. In rugby league, it's 60 minutes. In rugby union, it's 30 minutes. I mean, the key performance indicator for entertainment, those are the words of a true rugby league fanatic, aren't they? Really?
Yeah, that's...
super fan. But I think
the game is in good hands.
Yeah. I think that provides a bit of insight into his sick mind and to some of his decisions of late. Particularly, why he keeps fiddling with the 6 again rule is that he's obsessed with this time the ball is in play thing. And Dan, you're our cultural consultant to the world of Australian rules football. But am I right in thinking that a game of AFL has 4 20-minute quarters and the clock stops when the ball goes out of play?
Yeah, that's right.
Meaning that the ball is in play for 80 minutes during a game of AFL?
Yes, but of course each quarter typically runs around the 30-minute mark. Plus breaks. It's a significantly longer experience and there's plenty more game time. Yeah.
Well, I think that's what V'landys is steaming about is because the AFL has the ball in play for 80 minutes a game. Rugby League only gets 60.
Yeah, okay.
And their, quote, key performance indicator for entertainment is 25% higher. And he's not going to let this go until the ball is in play for every minute of an 80-minute NRL game.
I thought the key performance indicator for Rugby League entertainment was folding some cuts.
Can we say that? I'm not sure.
You'll have to beep that out, but that was just on the point of why the NRL is currently so bullish. They released their annual report earlier in the month, and there are 12.1 million fans of NRL. And 224 million cumulative views of NRL during the last season, including about 5 million people watching the grand final. So it is definitely on the up. And I think our challenge with this podcast is to get a very small percentage of that 12.1 million fans listening to the show, and potentially joining us in a crusade against its enshittification as it moves towards what could be cultural irrelevance if we don't pull it back from the brink.
Starts with a momentum tracker on your screen, ends with a 5-minute period of multi-ball at the end of each half.
Fantasy V'landys. Just a real quick little fantasy today, and I think following on from what we were just talking about, you've either got to commit to the bit or just play a normal sport. And I've noticed more and more with rugby league lately, they are committing to some sort of bit. So, for example, last night when I was scrolling on Instagram, I saw there was a video from the Gold Coast Titans of one of their players being told that he was getting his NRL debut, which was quite cool. But it was shot like reality TV. So it was almost like a setup where the player came in and was then led to believe like they weren't getting a start, like they were maybe getting cut, and then at the end they were given their debut.
It was quite cruel.
No.
So it's like, if we're going to do it that way, Ben Hannay, let's just go all in on it, right? So this week, Zach Lomax had the outcome of the court case, and as we said before, the Storm ended up paying $250,000 for the pleasure of looking like knobs, undermining contractual obligations, and sort of backroom dealing with the NRL. Parramatta came out looking pretty good by just saying, nah, you've signed up for it. And Zach Lomax sort of ended up sitting around for another 2 years. The simple solution to all of this, particularly considering that round one starts in Vegas and then there's a bit of a dip, particularly on Thursday night and the first game of Friday, is to create interest in that and to use a wrestling phrase, to actually build the card. So Vegas might be the main event of round one, but you've got to have a little bit of novelty involved as well.
Okay, yep.
Parramatta playing Storm, classic grudge match. They've just gone through this process that now is effectively meaningless and there's no resolution to it. So as fans outside the sport, you're disappointed. What we want is a very typical wrestling match, which is almost like an I Quit match or a ownership match. So the winner of Storm versus Eels will take ownership of Zach Lomax, who is hoisted above the ground in a cage.
Yes.
And if you want to go crazy, if you kick a ball and hit the cage, you might get, an extra point or something like that. But it's live, so he's part of it.
In play. Yeah.
In play. And potentially the cage is lowered at certain moments of the game. Every 5 minutes it gets a little bit lower, so he's there quite quickly. And, he's obviously wanting the Storm to win, so he's barracking from the cage, shouting out like a trainer must and all that sort of thing. At the end of the game, Zach goes to either the Storm where he wants, people cheer, it's a Storm home game, or alternatively, he is stuck in purgatory with Parramatta, having to play for them for another 2 years. That is a satisfying conclusion to what has just occurred.
It really would be.
That's great.
I also like that he could perform a halftime show, perhaps, from the cage.
Or T20, Dan. How's it going, Zach? How are you feeling? Oh, yeah, I'm pretty nervous now. Oh, they've got to go to the try. Oh, yeah, that's good.
We're throwing a Zach in the cage. I mean, imagine the amount of GoPros you could just rig that baby up with, and you could get 360-degree and actually get a heat tracker on him. I want the pulse rate tracked throughout the game, and I want to see just those little micro movements of brows and things like that. Actually, can we hire a behavioural scientist that's able to sort of look at his body language in response to tries and sort of take that apart?
I think if V'landers really wants to lean into the sort of WWE theatre of it all, I'm just picturing at the end of the game, let's say the Storm win, he's lowered down, he goes over the Storm, everyone's happy, slapping backs, hugging, and then camera focuses in on Zach and he rips off his shirt and he's wearing like a Panthers jersey underneath because he's actually secretly signed a contract with them earlier in the day. Classic heel turn.
So good.
If they want to juice these numbers further, they're going to have to do that.
Yeah.
Alternatively, they can simply play the greatest game there is. But the appetite to do that seems to be less and less. Next week on Fantasy V'landers, Origin in Space.
He's the fastest man on the planet. He's the fastest man on the planet. He'd have got there, Rabbits. He'd have got there.
Okay, news from Tigerland, but not the AFL Tigerland. Did the West Tigers call it Tigerland as well, as the Richmond team do?
Don't think
I'm
so.
not
Probably
aware.
impossible, Dan, because the West Tigers is a fraught franchise based on two historically significant clubs and spread across a wide area of Sydney.
So it would be a sort of a holy war almost as to where Tigerland actually exists, or if it is just a concept.
Well, I think it's more of a state of mind, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And let us now pull one out for the Mighty Tigers, West Tigers, I should say, who did not get to play last week, are not playing this week and have to wait until, I think, next Saturday afternoon to strap one on.
Yeah, run out. That's a hard time, although they did get the bye early, so I think after the first game they were already up on top of the ladder next to the Knights. But news out of the Tigers HQ. Sean Mielicamp, he is the new CEO, and he is working around the clock to sort of heal the scars from past traumas that have obviously been experienced large down at the West's Tigers. Mielicamp is obviously, if you're not familiar with his work, he is behind certain, stunts as the Usain Bolt at the Central Coast Mariners stint, as well as the Pink Penrith Panthers. We have him to thank for those innovations in the game. So he comes with high hopes that he can bring something fresh and exciting to the game, and he's doing exactly that. He is basically just having coffee with members, and a lot of them. He says in an article which was titled "Why Interim Tigers boss Sean Mielicamp is sitting down with frustrated fans for coffee." He has said, "We've had 3 fan forums and 1,000 coffees and 1,000 phone calls, and a lot of one-on-ones." Now, he's going for 1,000 coffees in 90 days. Now, you can rest assured this podcast, we will crunch the numbers and run the stats so you don't have to. Just to get your heads around that, that's a coffee every 130 minutes. So that's every just over 2 hours and 10. So that's just over 11 coffees a day.
That's total time. That's not working hours either. Like, is that discounting that he doesn't sleep or he sleeps between coffees, which of course is impossible?
I think that's part of the master plan. The coffees will prevent him from sleeping during the 3-month period. It will be somewhat difficult scheduling fans to come for tours between, say, midnight and 6 a.m. So he may have to sort of press harder during certain parts of the day. I think, most kind of reasonable phone providers these days can give you good rates on 1,000 calls, so that shouldn't be a problem. But the coffee's the problem. Just sort of thinking this one through, I'm suggesting he's either going to be using instant or he's insisting that the members pay. And either way, it's a sort of a net negative, or at least it sort of undermines the purpose of sort of trying to, reconcile with these members and make a positive connection.
If you signed up for the 6 o'clock coffee, he was going to be quite wired.
Yeah.
And I'm worried that his your genuine concerns as a fan might not be taken seriously by Sean at that point. Yeah. I heard that all before. Yeah. No. Yeah. A little bit like that.
We talked about the reality TV style premise of the Dolphins giving their debutant a jersey. I quite like the idea of having a 90-day reality TV show, which is Coffee with Sean. And, the producers would be like, make sure you're there for the 6 a.m. coffee. He really loses his shit. Make sure we've got 3 cameras on that at every moment.
Great scene of him, because he'd also have to go to the toilet quite a lot. There would be a great scene of... Where's Sean? Check the bathroom. And they're sort of chasing the camera around. Sean, you got another one here. Wee, piss. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, I think it's interesting you bring up the toilet aspect, James, because I think that actually getting into this state of drinking 9 coffees a day or whatever it was is going to help him empathise with the fans, because you think he's going to be jittery, constantly agitated, high blood pressure, racing to and from the toilet because he's incontinent and pooing his pants. This is how Tigers fans have felt every day of the last 20 years.
That's right. Well, that's a lovely closing scene to the show. Them kind of going, see, now you get it, as he's in a crumpled post-meltdown, having soiled himself.
A crumpled, constipated mess, writhing around on the floor, but beloved in his agony. Beloved in our agony, the West Tigers story.
Oh, that's really good.
The NRL hit by another drug scandal.
has been rocked by yet another potential drug scandal.
Drug-related bag of what's believed to be cocaine. Drug.
Illegal drugs are bad news. Don't mess with them.
Now, we're big supporters of grassroots rugby league here at NRL Hellmouth. These local lower grade comps are where future NRL stars learn the craft of rugby league. And that apparently includes recreational drug use. Had a fascinating story in the Canberra Times here this week about the Woden Valley Rams, a team in the local competition here in the ACT. Apparently, during a game last year, Rams coaching staff walked into the change rooms to find some of the players allegedly doing cocaine during the game. So obviously we've seen plenty of drug scandals in the top grade, but never actually at the ground during a match. So this is really next level stuff, isn't it? What do you reckon?
You are right. It's all about sort of emulating the famous exploits of your heroes in the pros. So yeah, I'm very excited to see, and I'm also hoping that there was also reckless recording and then sharing of videos of said events. That's always that's a key part. You can't let these things happen in a vacuum. We need to see it.
That seems to be what separates this from a top level scandal, is that nobody seemed to have photographed or filmed it. They were only caught because somebody walked in and spotted it. They were trying to keep it on the down low.
Is the irregular factor in this story the fact that they reported it? Or is this the kind of thing that, is this happening all the way across our great game at a grassroots level, but the coaching staff and admin tend to sort of brush these things over and handle them
it's
internally?
Interesting you bring that up, Dan, because yes, at the time the matter was dealt with in-house Rams management implemented, quote, a range of punishments that involved extra duties around the club, such as helping set up the ground on game days, working in the canteen or manning the scoreboard. I think this is a really interesting approach to the complex problem of drugs in sport. Do you think we could see this kind of punishment implemented at the top level the next time an NRL player finds themselves caught septum deep in a bag of the old albino matcha?
So you're sort of thinking, Simon, Isaiah Yongi, who's playing tomorrow night for Parramatta, and last week we shared with great joy and great support from the show his recreational theoretical cannabis use, that potentially at the start of, prior to the start of the game, he might say, as an adult, and as a consenting adult, I procured the marijuana and I had a nice time, and that is my right to do so. But young kids out there, you might want to think twice before emulating me in this case. And I am voluntarily not going to smoke grass tonight, but I will be cutting the grass after the match.
Was that a whole thing just to lead up to that? To your grass line.
And then at the end of the game, he has to drive around on the lawnmower.
I especially like it that he has to go until the last patron clears out. So it has to be a completely empty stadium by the time he's allowed to get off the mower.
So I don't want to make this a big thing where I'm performatively mowing the lawn. I need you to leave. Genuinely, I need you to leave. As soon as possible. And,
after a while, he's mowing over to areas where he sees fans in the corner who are he's like, guys,
please.
It's 1 a.m. I really got to get you out of here. Security's not happy.
Dan, Simon, welcome to the first round of Rugby League Haircuts Championship 2026.
Thrilled to be here.
Thank you. This will be an ongoing segment where the best haircuts of the season will be celebrated by us. And I think my schedule looks like the week of Origin 3. A special edition to actually crown the winner of the best rugby league haircut of 2026. And I've got 2 entries in this week. The first one, Dan, if you can just play that clip that we've got ready to go, features this player.
Sure thing.
And I have to say that this is my favourite bit of commentary of the entire Vegas weekend. So please play it and I'd love to hear it again.
Hang on a second. Wow, that's a mixed bag. I mean, they're all exciting things.
It was an amazing moment because he scored a try and then Vossi is my favourite. And he scored on American soil and then as a great non sequitur, Turkish heritage.
And a 4-pointer as if it was a holy trinity of interrelated factors.
I think he's been holding on to that one since Anzac round last year because Emre Gul doesn't score many tries as a front rower, and I reckon he was like, if Emre scores, I'm going to bring up his Turkish heritage for Anzac round, and then he hasn't scored since then. So Vossi was like, well, it's now or never.
But the cue has always been sitting there on the rack.
That's
just
right.
Waiting to bring it out at the right moment, and it just happened to be on American soil.
And even better, he's got a beautiful haircut. And the haircut in that clip, listeners can go and can Google it. Just type in Emre Gula try. It'll be the first one that pops up. It basically follows the insane asylum aesthetic that's popular with quite a few players, where there is a long amount of hair at the back with some bouffant. There is not much at the front. And there's a line that sort of indicates either that they've had electroshock therapy or other brain-related surgery done to them. It's a very neat line, but it sort of indicates the skull has been cut into. And what I liked with Emre's is that then he's got this lovely bushy, indeed Turkish hair that comes out the back. And definitely he would be one player that I will add into the mix for this season's championship.
For sure. It's a really generous wad of hair out the back. It's full Davy Crockett.
And I immediately also, my brain went to surgery when I saw it, James, because it's like the first 2/3 of his head looks like normal and a normal person with just like his basic crew cut. And then it looks like they've literally taken the last 1/3 of somebody else's skull and attached it. And it's very neat, but it's like, quite a significant change.
Yeah. The hipster's lobotomy. It's the new style every kid is going to be wearing this season.
And then the other entry from this week is our very own Vince McMahon, Peter V'landys. And Simon, you picked this one up.
Oh, yeah.
And that is his amazing dye job. And we will allow it. He's not a player, but he is a character of the game, so we'll allow him into the championship. But again, it's been all over social media, especially done for Vegas. He got the his best version of a Mayor Rudy Giuliani from 2020 dye job done. And he's
it's an executive fade. Yeah, it's really quite becoming.
So we're going to add them to the mix and join us in the coming weeks as we add more players and personalities into the 2026 Rugby League Haircuts Championship.
Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to welcome you to
NRL
Book Club presented by
NRL Hellmouth.
And the holidays are here, and that means this month's drink pairing is peppermint mocha with flavors of chocolate and peppermint. It's a merry, 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 merry minty way to warm up this season, along with a great book. And I have just the one for you right here.
Yes. Now, one aspect of rugby league that doesn't get enough attention, in my opinion, is its contribution to literature. The stacks at the National Library are positively groaning under the weight of some of the prose penned by players past and present, and I think some of these texts deserve to reach a new audience via the medium of podcasting. That's why we're launching this NRL Book Club, so we can read and discuss the best pieces of league literature together over the course of the season. And we're starting with a sample from this absolutely classic book called In a League of Their Own 2. It was published in 1994, and it's an anthology of anecdotes from some of the game's greats at the time. You've got Glenn Lazarus, Rod Wishart, Paul the Chief Harrigan, Wayne Pearce, Ricky Stewart's in there, Terry Hill, and illustrated with some legitimately great cartoons by a guy called Boo Bailey.
Wow.
Although there's a not great Native American reference for Paul the Chief Harrigan on the cover. It's a different time.
Given the credentials there, I'm guessing that this preceded and inspired the Hollywood movie In a League of Their Own with Tom Hanks and Gina Davis.
I would assume so.
Right?
Yeah. And which I think was probably late 90s, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah.
And
that's a reasonable
and
guess.
it also preceded the end of racism, sexism, and homophobia within public discourse.
Yes, significantly preceded that, I would say. There's, I think, probably about 80% of the stories in this book can never be read on air now.
But we're going there?
We're a relatively clean one, a relatively sensitive one. Today's reading is from a gentleman, an author called Craig Salvatori, who played for what would have been the Eastern Suburbs Roosters back in the day. And for those who may not be old enough to remember them, the book helpfully includes a biography of all the authors, so I'll read Craig's now. Big Salvo is from the old school of front row forwards. He takes the ball up hard, gives as good as he takes in the tough stuff, and isn't above a drink and a laugh with the opposition when the game is over. He's seen some funny things in his time in the game, which probably explains why he usually has a smile on his dial.
What a character.
One of those funny things we're going to hear about right now in this story, which Craig's entitled One Tough Rooster. A couple of years back, we had a guy called Russell Bartlett playing front or second row for us. He was a fringe first grader, but he was in the squad that went to play Gold Coast one weekend. We'd played on the Saturday night, but we weren't scheduled to come back until Monday, so a bit of celebrating was had after the match. Somehow Russell got himself into trouble on the first night. The exact trouble's not specified. And the next morning, Beatso called us all in and said if there was any more playing up, the bloke responsible would have his contract torn up.
Oof.
Later that night, Russell got back on the grog and came back to the hotel pretty late. We're staying on the second floor of Greenmount Resort, and Russell has no sooner got up to his room than he's decided he wants to have a swim. He looks out the window, sees the pool, and jumps off the balcony.
Oh,
It was a great time saver, but unfortunately he's missed the pool by about a metre.
oh shit. Oh, my God. What a larrikin.
Poor old Russell thought he was paralysed. And when me and some of the boys walk in the foyer a few minutes later, there he is dragging himself along the carpet by his hands. I'm paralysed, he's screaming. So we get on the blower and call an ambulance.
Hang on. All right.
The next morning, bright and early, Beatso, that's Coach Arthur Beetson, by the way, Beatso gets a call from the hospital. Can he please come and collect Russell? Anything wrong with him? Beatso asks. Not a thing, says the doc. Needless to say, Russell never got to play any more first grade after that, and he definitely didn't make it on any more trips away. And that's the end of the story. What do you think?
What?
Hold on. I mean, that's a great story, but what is that? Does that class as a whole chapter? You didn't cut anything out?
That's the whole anecdote, yeah.
Wow.
The book's full of just little slices of life like that.
Wow. So, well, I mean, credit to Beatso for being a man of his word and sending him on his way. But there's no clarification as to whether he didn't play another game because of debilitating injuries that were suffered from the second story
I think it was
plunge.
the implication is that, no, he never played any more first grade because he got on the grog before leaping off the balcony, despite Beatso's warning to not drink anymore.
I would say that the author has left that intentionally as sort of like there's a footnote there of sort of karmic destiny. In a sense, yes, he didn't play again, so you could see that as a misfortune. But of course, perhaps cosmically, and I think this is the intention of the author, the fact that he survived without being paralysed is sort of some sort of a universal sort of leveler there. So I think, perhaps Russell would actually take his ability to stay on the piss and walk for the rest of his life over his first grade career. So we're left to ponder that, and I appreciate that sort of the profundity of that.
Like most short stories, it's what is not in the tale that actually provides the richness.
Good point.
So there you go, a little taste of the rugby league canon, and we'll be back throughout the year with some more excerpts from In the League of Their Own too, and some other great works of rugby league literature.
And check in on our socials for our Amazon affiliate link for
Would you believe the book's now out of print? It cannot be purchased from the publisher anymore.
Simon is going to go library by library, municipality by municipality, and next week we'll reveal a list of local libraries throughout the Eastern Seaboard. I'll do it for New Zealand, Simon, it's cool. The Eastern Seaboard of where you can pick up any of the League of Our Own series so that you can read along with us in the Hellmouth.
Oh, what absolute madness. Well, it might be madness, but I've enjoyed it, and I hope the viewer has as well.
That's because you're mad.
What?
You're mad.
Well, that's a lovely way to go to a break.
Do you guys know, in like dystopian future films, sort of like a dystopian universe sci-fis where the protagonist or protagonists will sort of stumble upon a sort of like a cyberpunk street gang. Sort of midway through the story, it tends to happen. There's sort of like a gang of people that have sort of evolved from whatever mess is left there, surviving sort of as best they can. You often see them sort of trading in stolen parts or fuel cells, outlandish hairstyles.
Yes, Daniel, we're very familiar with this trope.
You've got
so
that
listeners.
in your mind. Wonderful. So first of all, I just wanted to shout out to those people because I know that you're doing it tough, and I see you. But secondly, I think that's the Bulldogs right now. Yeah.
Why is that, Dan?
Oh, so thanks for. I should clarify. So I guess they sort of embrace that sort of by whatever means mentality. But if you go through the team, there's sort of, there's a lot of reasons to think that. We've got Kikau, like probably he's like a ready-made cyberpunk. He's ready to go. Galvin, stupid hair. Montoya, you can see him with like a metal face, sort of like a charm bracelet and grills, that kind of thing.
And podcasting, so he'd have a little sort of a retro, and a retro boombox with him where we can be recording and playing his various podcasts.
Yeah, and then Crichton, who's the captain, who would be that kind of noble gang leader, he'd be like, "Shut up, Montoya," and he'd sort of, put him in the shackles, that kind of thing.
Oh, I can see Crichton with like a mohawk mullet, like one of the ones that goes right down the back.
And Dan, it's got metal, so it goes sting, and it spikes up.
Bloody hell, that's good, yeah. But I mean, there's like, you just take your pick. There's Curran, Tupanua, Thompson, like all these players have got, very good sort of bones for that sort of markup. I also quite like, so you would sort of think to yourself, Matt Burton doesn't fit that, but in all of those sort of gangs, you always have that sort of like the little street orphan who sort of has never really got their head, never fully, endorsed the ethos of the gang. And often you'll see him actually sort of letting the protagonist go because he has a sort of a moment of connection. So I just wanted to leave that there because I think the Bulldogs are definitely a dystopian future cyberpunk street gang.
Dan, I was thinking something along those lines, but very, very, very different for the Dragons.
Oh,
and that is that they seem to now be made up of players that you know who they are, but not because they've ever played for the Dragons.
Yeah,
and they're quite good. So Gula, Damien Cook, King Gutho, Valentine Holmes, Flanagan, and others. So it's almost like a team of second choices, but very good. You know what I mean? Not like second choice, we don't like you. It's like you're very bloody good. And I'm very hopeful that St. George has a good season this year because of that, because it's a team that you can get behind, because you've seen all these players do great things for other clubs.
What was that Stallone, Schwarzenegger, Diesel
the Expendables
crossover? Yeah. So it's kind of like, that kind of elite army of sort of mercenaries that all had these kind of great former lives, but are sort of, doing it tough at the Dragons, just to extend the metaphor.
Instead of me tomorrow saying what I think and then getting abused by everybody in regards to my unsportsmanship manner, you write what you think. Okay, well, write it.
Okay, just taking care of a little bit of sponsor business. Supercoach Trent Robinson would like to take this opportunity to thank the good, decent members of the rugby league community who got behind the rollout of Trent Robinson's Small Bird Survey of Sydney, announced on this show during last week's episode. Your help has led to a terrific week of follow-up sightings for Trent and a number of new ticks on his life list. Dizzy stuff, indeed. However, Trent is sick and tired of the smart aleck behaviour of a rapidly growing list of imbeciles out there and is today announcing that the following birds will no longer be accepted through the Small Bird Survey observation form.
Little bustard.
Hoary puffleg.
Dick Sissel.
American woodcock.
Himalayan snowcock.
Guinean cock of the rock.
Hairy woodpecker.
Blue-footed boobies.
Fluffy-backed tit babbler.
Bush tits.
Bearded tits.
Elegant tits.
Grey tits.
Dirty Allen.
European shag.
Swine pipe.
Satanic goat sucker.
And any bird from the Turdus family.
The Infotech database will no longer accept these birds unless accompanied by a picky off your phone for verification purposes. Thanks again to the decent few of you who have participated in good faith to Trent Robinson's Small Bird Survey of Sydney. And there is a ton of contact details down the bottom. So it just goes on and on.
Slightly uncomfortable with creating sort of animosity between fans of the show and sponsors, and then that being called out by sponsors, regardless of the fact that we need what has been provided to us by Trent, and we take, obviously we know that he's very serious, self-serious, I would say. So I was going to say I look forward to next week, but I'm just not sure what's going to happen. So if you're a fan of the show, you're a fan of the Small Bird Survey, if we can just toe the line, thread the needle, because that does cause me stress.
In the air! In the air! In the air! Goal!
Guys, this show is really, the theme has been about the future, and one thing we've often spoken about is the eventual lack of need for podcast and podcasters, because AI will be doing all of the work for us, and we've seen that earlier this week with analysis from the AI that obviously went bad. And one thing that we'll be doing relatively regularly on the show is checking in on the vanilla AI models and seeing if they can actually bant good.
Great.
So I put in a pretty simple prompt into Google Gemini, which was hit me with 6 funny NRL banter starters, make them about the 2026 season, and then it did its usual 2 paragraphs of ridiculous preamble. And here they are. So I'll just rattle them off. Tell me what you think. Mm-hmm. The Roosters pension plan. Honestly, watching Daly Cherry Evans run out in a Roosters jersey this year feels less like a sign-in and more like Uncle Nick just brought another vintage Ferrari. He's 37. Is the Trident at Allianz now just a symbol for his retirement home?
No, not bad. They've done their homework.
Oh, wasn't bad, yeah.
Okay.
Uncle Nick.
You've got to admire the Perth Bears fans. They haven't even played a game yet, and they're already 14 signings deep for 2027. At this rate, by round 20, they'll have signed your team's ball boy and the guy who sells the Fortin 20 pies.
No,
I see we're doing the
Las Vegas.
Okay. Yeah. I see we're doing the Las Vegas season opener again. Can't wait for the inevitable round 3 press conference where a coach blames a 3-game losing streak on a prop who's still technically missing somewhere in the MGN Grand.
Okay. Thumbs down?
Yeah. No good.
People have been saying the Melbourne Storm era is over since the 2010 salary cap scandal. It's 2026. Greg Bellamy is basically a hologram, and they're still top 4. At this point, I'm convinced the Storm could field a team of ball boys and still beat the Eels by 40.
It's quite obsessed with ball boys.
Yeah. You didn't get this off Grok, did you?
It was not Grok. And it did 2 others, which I'm not going to bother reading. And then it said, would you like me to whip up some specific hot takes for your favourite team's 2026 roster? And the answer is no. I'm not interested in that. So, listen, what I took from that is our jobs are safe. Our dozens or thousands of listeners, tens or dozens or thousands of listeners do not need to leave the podcast.
Yeah.
Because I think we can do better than that.
Keep an eye on it though, James, because one thing we're told to trust is that it is rapidly learning. So perhaps by the end of this season, it may replace us.
The other thing I do is to always ask it for a picture of the person who's saying this banter, and every time it gives a grown man in his childhood bedroom in a single bed, looking like the biggest loser alive.
Well, just be careful because I think that's our target demographic. So let's not
losers. We are here for you.
Maybe it is going to take over from me. It's like looking into a mirror there.
I would say, guys, losers and their mothers. That's our target demographic.
The foul play far outweighs the dickhead.
All right, it's time to close up the Hellmouth for another week. Thanks for joining us. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe to the podcast, give us a review, or follow us on the socials. Every little bit helps us bubble up through the torrent of AI, banter, and slop now occupying everyone's newsfeed.
Indeed. Just before we finish, something occurred to me, and that is that this weekend will be the first time that we get to have footy on, 4 days straight, which feels pretty close to every day. I recall, do you remember, like, there's that feeling you get when the finals start, which is like, great, there's finals footy on, it's the best quality football, but it's also, we're losing that Thursday game, we're losing all of those extra games, we're saying goodbye to half the field of the teams, and we get them all back this weekend, so I'm very excited.
I'm very excited too. Enjoy it, everybody. Now to take us out, it's time for James's final thought.
Daniel might have just forgotten about the West Tigers, who aren't actually playing this weekend. But the brand of the show, Rugby League Hellmouth, will not. If you have a dream of one day reaching the heights of Las Vegas, Nevada, or having a beautiful haircut that people talk about in whispered tones, for example, has he had electric shock therapy? Then rugby league is the game for you. Turkish heritage. Ave Vossi, Ave Valandis.
Stop it, it's starting to hurt.
That's great, Dan. Dan, if we do another ad for him next week, Simon and I would need to see whatever you've negotiated with him. Sort of on the official ledger, if that makes sense, or we're not going to continue to add our voices to the credibility of his small bird survey.
Great point.
Did Trent pay us for last week in the end?
It's in the mail, he says. But you know, I trust him. He's a good guy. He seems a good guy. He tells me he's a good guy.
Has scored on American soil. Turkish heritage. And a 4-pointer here.